The shocking truth behind Pompeii's BR0THEL, dark secrets uncovered at 3 a.m., in the silent shadows cast by the ancient ruins of Pompeii, a mystery lurks. As the clock strikes 3, whispers of ghostly secrets float through the air. What lies beneath the ash and stone? It's a question that chills the bone, igniting curiosity and fear. For centuries, Pompeii has been frozen in time, a tragedy marked by volcanic fury. But what if I told you that buried in this ash-laden history is a secret that could shatter the serene facade? Just beyond the crumbled facades of ordinary homes sits a place shrouded in darkness, a brothel that flourished before the fiery wrath of Vesuvius. Its walls bear witness to forbidden desires and clandestine escapades. Fragments of faded frescoes still cling to the walls, figures adorned in lavish attire, their eyes impossibly alive, almost staring into the soul of the observer. The air hangs heavy with the scent of long-extinguished candles, as if they still flicker with the laughter of those searching for lost pleasures amid chaos, but there's something more, something unsettling in the rubble. Archaeologists have reported eerie findings, strange markings on the walls interpreted as ancient spells, prayers for protection that twisted into desperation. Can you imagine the panic in their hearts as the ground trembled beneath them? The very walls echo with distant cries, leaving visitors to wonder. Were they seeking salvation, or were they merely trapped by their desires? As the moon bathes the remnants in ghostly silver, even the hardened ghost hunters feel a tingle of dread skitter down their spines. Curious explorers recount stories of sudden drafts and flickering lights, as though the spirits of the past are longing to share their tales. Eyes dart toward shadows lurking just out of sight, where each corner might hide an unseen observer, just waiting, watching. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With goosebumps trailing down their arms, the explorers push deeper into the brothel's hollow spaces. Each step echoes a pulse of dread and excitement. What will they uncover? A diary tucked beneath a floor mat? A hidden chamber? Or perhaps a secret ritual that ensnared the souls of its visitors long ago? As the air grows thick with anticipation, a sudden crash from above silences all chatter, leaving only the thunder of pounding hearts. What happened next? What lurked within the shadows, waiting for the next curious soul to step into the web of antiquity? The explorers froze, eyes wide, breath caught in their throats. The crashing sound echoed through the darkness like a thunderclap, shaking the very foundations of this ancient place. Their hearts raced in unison, a primal drumbeat against the silence. What could cause such a ruckus deep inside an abandoned brothel? Did you hear that? One whispered, voice trembling as fear took root in their chest. Yeah, sounded like it came from the upper floor, another replied, voice barely above a whisper. Maybe we should check it out. They exchanged nervous glances, caught between morbid curiosity and instinctual dread. Slowly, they turned toward the darkened staircase, the wood creaking underfoot like a warning. Each step seemed heavier, the air thickening as they ascended. A flickering light glimmered at the top, casting wild shadows that danced along the walls, making the frescoes appear to shift and move when seen from the corner of the eye. They reached the landing, and the light grew brighter but oddly warm, a stark contrast to the cold that hung heavily throughout the brothel. As they peeked around the corner, their mouths dropped open in shock. What they saw left them reeling. A chamber, untouched yet eerily alive, lay before them. A makeshift altar, adorned with remnants of lavish feasts and strange artifacts, occupied the center of the room. Candles flickered in unison despite the absence of drafts. Was this where desperate souls had turned in search of salvation? A hidden sanctuary deep within the vile heart of the brothel. In the dim light, a figure suddenly appeared, a shadow against the wall. The explorers gasped and instinctively pressed back into the shadows. For a brief moment, they could see her a woman draped in vibrant fabrics of yesteryears, her face partially obscured by the veil. Her eyes burned like embers, piercing through the dark, demanding acknowledgement. "Come closer," she beckoned softly, each word weaving a spell that pulled them toward her. An unseen force gripped their hearts as they stepped forward, compelled by an overwhelming need to understand the truth. But their instincts screamed against the seduction of the otherworldly presence. "Wait!" someone shouted, breaking the spell. "What if it's a trap?" The vision flickered, and the woman's expression shifted from allure to something darker: fear, anger. The candles dimmed with her emotion, casting the chamber into near-complete darkness. The walls trembled, and whispers filled the air, loud, frantic voices clamoring for release. Desire's unquenched terror unbound the voices cried, a cacophony surging around them. Panic took hold, they stumbled back, trying to decipher reality from illusion, wondering if they had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. The air turned icy as an unknown force pressed down on their chests, heavy, suffocating. "Don't look away. Please, don't look away," the woman begged, her voice a haunting melody that played with their senses. As they tried to turn their heads towards her, the world around them spun a wild concoction of shadows, voices, and ancient pains swirling together. The whispers became frenzied screams, and the explorers felt the walls close in. The history of the brothel hung in the air like a storm waiting to break, and just like that, the candles extinguished, plunging them into darkness. One of the explorers, filled with a resolve they didn't understand, shouted desperately, "What do you want from us?" A chilling laughter echoed through the silence, rippling over their skin. "To remember," and then, it was gone. The weight lifted, the darkness split, revealing a swirling vortex of memories and echoes. The explorers' hearts raced as they stood on the precipice of an ancient truth, caught between the living and the dead. What had they awakened within the cursed walls of Pompeii's brothel? As the swirls of history beckoned them, resonating deeply in their souls, the question loomed thick over them. Were they to walk away unscathed, or would they become part of the haunting legends of the forgotten? A night of reckoning was just beginning. The darkness tightened around them, a shroud that stifled their breaths. Silence descended, thick and suffocating, leaving only the sound of their racing hearts and the distant echo of the woman's last words. Each explorer felt the pulse of unexplainable terror at their core. Nothing felt real anymore, the shadows pulled at their sanity, each flicker of imagination conjuring ghosts from the depths of history. "Guys?" one ventured, tentative. "What just happened?" No response. A sick feeling churned in their stomachs, blending fear with a curiosity they couldn't shake off. Someone dared to reach for their flashlight, a small flicker of hope in the consuming darkness. The beam illuminated their faces, wide with apprehension. "We should get out of here," another urged, stepping back toward the stairs. But his voice betrayed uncertainty, echoing against the walls with an urgency that contradicted his words. "Whatever that was, it's dangerous." But deep down, they all felt the call. The allure of the unknown beckoned, weaving its way through their instincts. What had they glimpsed? The stories of the brothel whispered promises of lost souls and hidden tales. If they left now, would they ever uncover the truth behind those hollow eyes? The decision weighed heavy. "We can't just walk away," one declared, firm and defiant. "We need answers." Slowly, they turned back to face the chamber, just as the candles miraculously reignited, their flames dancing wildly. Shadows twisted on the walls, morphing into figures that lingered just beyond comprehension. The explorers stood frozen in the newfound light, entranced by the spectacle. "Look!" one gasped, pointing toward the altar, where the remnants of past gatherings seemed to pulse with energy. Drunken laughter, desperate cries, swelled from the walls, layered fragments of the past converging like a storm brewing. "What's it trying to tell us?" whispered a fourth explorer, their voice trembling as they stepped closer, drawn to the altar like moths to flame. It was an odd assortment: wine-stained goblets, shards of pottery adorned with faded markings, bright fabrics strewn about as if cast aside in frenzy. But lurking in the corner, partially shrouded in shadows, they spotted something glinting ominously in the candlelight. Someone gasped and reached down, uncovering an engraved brooch, its design intricate, but sinister, a twisted vine cradling a single eye. A chill shot through them as they realized it was familiar, scrawled in notes they had found earlier during their research. The Eye of Vodun, someone murmured, horrified. Tales of a forbidden cult flashed in their minds, one that indulged in horrific rites to appease dark entities. The walls trembled again, louder this time. Eyes blinked open in the shadows, observing them with wild intensity. "Who are you?" the girl in the vibrant fabrics demanded. "Why do you disturb the past?" Her voice echoed like thunder, shaking their very bones. "Answer us." One explorer blurted, the fear pushing their voice over the edge. They felt bravery surge through the simmering dread. "What do you want? What happened here?" The candles flickered violently, and the walls pulsed, breathing in tandem with the woman's rising rage. "Your fate isn't yours to decide," she hissed, shadows coiling around her like snakes. "You've opened the door. Now you must choose. Are you willing to face the truth, or will you flee into the darkness?" The air crackled with intensity, a climax about to erupt as she stepped forward, veils swirling like spectral clouds, preparing to reveal secrets that could drench them in horror or offer liberation. What dreadful truths would rise from the depths, and would they have the strength to face their past? As the chamber seemed to tremble in anticipation, their choice loomed heavy. In that moment, everything changed. A thunderous crash echoed from somewhere deeper within the brothel, drowning out their thoughts. "What was that?" one explorer yelled. They looked at one another, their resolve faltering, the darkness beneath beckoning them all over again. Could they handle whatever lay ahead, or had they already awakened something better left undisturbed? A heavy silence hung in the air, punctuated only by the echo of the crash that rattled through the crumbling bones of the brothel like a bad omen. The explorers exchanged frantic glances, their bodies trembling with a mix of adrenaline and dread. "Should we investigate?" one asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Are you insane?" another shot back, eyes wide as saucers. "What if it's, whatever that was?" Tension unfurled between them, each heart racing in a chaotic drumbeat. Finally, the girl in vibrant fabrics stepped forward, emboldened by a rush of defiance. "If we don't go now, we might regret it forever," she urged. "This is what we came for." With a shared, reluctant nod, they took a cautious step toward the shadowed hallway that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The flickering candlelight cast mingled shadows, painting swirling images on the walls as they crept closer, hearts pounding with each tentative footfall. The corridor stretched ahead, dark and ominous, the air thick with the scent of dust and something else, a lingering sweetness, like old wine mixed with decay. As they rounded a corner, their flashlight beams caught the edges of what appeared to be a heavy door that had been slightly ajar, an invitation or a warning, they couldn't tell. "Do you hear that?" someone murmured, straining to listen. A low murmur drifted from behind the door, a sound like hushed conversations but distorted as if it emanated from an entirely different realm. It was intoxicating, drawing them in closer. "Let's just see what's going on," the girl insisted, reaching for the handle, her resolve spurred on by the growing sense of isolation in the group. The door creaked open, revealing a dimly lit room. Incense hung heavy in the air, curling like tendrils around them. The room was a grotesque tapestry of the past, walls lined with faded tapestries depicting scenes of revelry and vice. In the faint light, broken mirrors glinted like shattered dreams. And in the center of the room stood a table, around which shadowy figures gathered, their faces obscured but their presence undeniably palpable, as if they had paused mid-ritual, caught within the web of their malevolent workings. Something inside the explorers shifted, a wave of unease washing over them. "We shouldn't be here," one muttered, backing away, but the others seemed rooted to the spot, mesmerized by the scene before them. "Who are they?" another whispered, noting how the figures moved gracefully, as if dancing on the edges of reality itself, whispering secrets that weren't meant for their ears. Just then, one of the shadowy figures turned, and the brooch glinted ominously on the ceremonial table. A haunting familiarity crossed their minds, tugging at the edges of their sanity. The girl's breath caught in her throat as the figure pointed directly at them, a chilling invitation, as if recognizing their intrusion. Fate isn't kind to those who seek knowledge, the figure spoke, their voice reverberating like thunder, ensnaring the explorers in its grip. It was then that the world felt as if it were collapsing, every shadow leaning in closer, hungry for the truth or perhaps, for their very souls. Panic surged through the group. "Run!" someone shouted, breaking the trance. They pushed back into the hallway, but now the darkness felt alive, choking them, reaching out with unseen hands. "Wait!" The girl screamed, but the space began to twist, the air crackling with the energy of forgotten sins that now wished to claim new victims. Bound by fear, they stumbled back into the main chamber, breathless and wide-eyed. Thoughts raced. What did the figure mean? Was their fate already sealed? The walls trembled again, but now the shadows felt different, thicker, more alive. "Where do we go now?" one cried, desperation creeping into their voice. The ground beneath them rumbled, a low growl unfurling like a warning. The altar's energy seemed to swell, drawing them back as if to offer some level of salvation. "If you seek the truth, the choice must be made," echoed the voice of the woman from earlier, seeping into every corner of their minds, and just like that, the chamber shifted, revealing the heart of the brothel, pulsing with a chaotic rhythm, a hidden door that throbbed as if it wanted to be found. With their choices laid bare, they faced a new dilemma. Would they uncover the secrets lying in wait or fall prey to the dark forces that desired to hold their truths hostage forever? The shadows closed in, swirling around them like a storm. Still breathless from their escape, the explorers regained some semblance of reason. The oppressive weight of the air felt thick as they glanced toward the throbbing door that had suddenly appeared, its outline shimmering under the dim light. "What do we do?" the girl asked. Her voice trembled, underscored by fear and anticipation. "Shouldn't we just leave?" one of the guys stammered, backing away slightly, dread spreading through his body like ice. "No." the girl shot back, determination boiling over. "We can't back down now. Whatever that was, whatever they were, it wants us to find the truth. We have to go through that door." Against their better judgment, they drew closer to this new entrance, their flashlights casting eerie beams that danced unevenly across the surfaces. The door seemed to pulse like a heartbeat, as if acknowledging their intent with every breath they took. "Are you sure?" someone whispered, eyes darting between the girl and the door. The tension in the group mirrored the crackling energy in the air. "Together. We go together," she asserted, nearly echoing the gravity in her heart. Each explorer exchanged nervous glances, weighing the danger against the pull of curiosity. With a collective inhale, they placed their hands on the door, ready to push it open. It creaked ominously, revealing a narrow passage that twisted downward, lined with stones that glistened like jagged teeth. The darkness consumed their light, making the air feel even colder. Goosebumps erupted on their skin as they stepped through, adrenaline coursing through their veins like electricity. The descent felt endless. Each step reverberated against the walls, amplifying a feeling of foreboding. A faint sound reached them, like the distant toll of a bell or maybe whispers, fluttering in and out of comprehension. "What if it's a trap?" one explorer muttered, gripping the cold stone wall for courage. "Or maybe it's the path to answers." The girl's voice, softened by awe, encouraged them to press on. As they reached the bottom, the passage opened into a hidden cavern. Dark shapes moved in the corners of their vision, quick and fluid, like shadows that refused to be seen. A grand chamber awaited them, draped in opulence long faded. Statues stood sentinel, their gazes fixated on an ornate altar at the center. Upon the altar, an object of unrivaled beauty gleamed, a golden key, intricately adorned. It called to them, the very essence of their quest. "Look at that!" one exclaimed, almost breathless. Is it real?" another questioned, stepping forward as if pulled by invisible strings. They hesitated. The air shifted abruptly, angering the shadows. A cold wind whipped past, a hiss of warning wrapping around them. The girl reached for the key, her fingers brushing against its smooth surface. In that instant, the chamber erupted with a cacophony of voices, echoes of the past clawing their way back, desperate and haunting. "Leave now!" came a scream that froze their blood, drowning out rational thought. Jolted back, the explorers stumbled over each other, barely managing to regain their footing. The shadows surged forth, now taking form, pressing against the walls, shapeless and threatening. "Run!" the girl shouted, clutching the key fiercely. "We need to get out of here." As they scrambled back toward the narrow passageway, something shifted in the chamber. Groaning stones echoed around them, and the altar trembled as ancient secrets were stirred. "Wait!" one shouted, glancing back at the altar. "What does it mean? What is the key for?" But the chamber's secrets remained locked away, shifting the ground under them, forcing them to choose between the danger they couldn't fully comprehend and a power that could forever change them. With the echoes of the past clawing at their hurried backs, they emerged back into the corridors of the brothel, gasping for air. Shadows still lurked, taunting them from the recesses of the walls, watching, waiting. "Is this a blessing or a curse?" the girl whispered, holding the golden key tightly. Her question hung heavily in the air, unanswered, pressing against them as the whispers grew louder. What had they awakened? And what awaited them, now that they dared to tread deeper into the darkness? They rushed through the corridors of the brothel, panting, hearts racing, bodies tense with the lingering chill of the shadows that seemed to follow them. Adrenaline drummed through their veins, a rhythm echoing the chaos they had just narrowly escaped. "Did you hear that? The voices?" one of the guys wheezed, glancing over his shoulder, desperate for reassurance that something was not, in fact, lurking just behind them. What if it wasn't just echoes? Another whispered nervously, fear painted across her face. "What if they're watching us?" The girl, clutching the golden key, squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, feeling the weight of the ancient artifact pulling at her. They had fled, yes, but now, they needed clarity. What had the echoes meant? What truth were they being drawn into? With a sudden burst of resolve, she halted and turned to face the group. "We can't just keep running. We need to figure out what this key is for. Now. After everything we just saw. Are you serious?" A boy shot back, incredulity coating his words. The others nodded, vulnerability etched in their expressions. "What are we going to do?" he continued, his voice shaky. "Are you willing to go back in there?" "I am," she said, her voice steady as a rock amid the storm of their fear. "That key, it's more than just a piece of metal. It has a purpose, and it's tied to everything we've experienced tonight. We need to confront this." Barely catching their breaths, the group exchanged wary glances. In that moment, they knew she was right. They had delved this far, why turn back now? "All right. But if we do this, we do it together," another said, determination bubbling to the surface. They formed a tighter circle, resolutely facing the twisting path back to the cavern. As they retraced their steps, the oppressive air thickened around them, a warning for the dangers that lay ahead. Shadows danced, gliding along surfaces like ominous phantoms. Each footfall echoed in the corridor, spiraling into the dark. They wrapped themselves in silence, every breath drawing tighter in the throats. When they reached the end of the passage, the cavern loomed before them, still cloaked in shadow. The altar remained untouched, yet the air felt alive, charged with anticipation for their return. "Let us make this quick," another muttered, stepping cautiously into the chamber. The sense of urgency was palpable. The girl stepped forward, clutching the key tightly, feeling its pulse synchronize with her own. As she approached the altar, the whispers returned, swirling around her like a storm of forgotten memories. "You shouldn't have come back," they hissed, tantalizing and chilling. She gripped the key tighter, the golden surface suddenly hot against her palm. "Please tell us what this key unlocks," she begged, voice quaking, the same determination she felt resonating louder than fear. The chamber groaned as if the very stones were reacting to her inquiry. A low rumble echoed from deep within the cavern, shaking loose bits of stone and dust raining down. The altar shuddered, and the shadows flickered in anticipation. Did they dare stay? What is happening? Someone squeaked, eyes wide with panic. The girl took a deep breath. Whatever it is, we need to confront it. Right now. Before they could process her words, a blinding light erupted from the altar, illuminating the cavern. It swallowed their fear whole, laying bare secrets hidden for centuries. The golden key flared with energy, radiant and alive. Okay. What is going on? One of the guys exclaimed, barely able to take a step back, but she was entranced. The surface of the altar shook, shifting and revealing an ancient inscription spiraling before them. The voices crescendoed, intoxicating and desperate. You must choose, they cried. Unlock the truth or unleash the curse. The choice is yours. The ground quaked beneath them, sending tremors through their very souls. In that moment of decision, the weight of the key felt heavier, pulling her in two directions. Stay and find out what it leads to, or run. She murmured, feeling her heart race faster. The atmosphere tightened, uncertainty crackling like electricity in the air, forcing them to confront the terrifying choice ahead. What truth lay within the light? And what would they lose in the process? The light radiated from the altar like 1,000 suns, casting long shadows that danced chaotically along the cavern walls. The girl's heart raced as ancient whispers writhed around them, pulling at her thoughts. This is it, she muttered, almost to herself. This is why we came back. Her friends clustered around her, expressions of terror and awe mixed together. What if we should have just run? Someone whispered, clenching their fists in worry. No, she replied, spinning to face them, her resolve growing bolder. We need to find out what's at stake. We came here for a reason. A sudden shudder rippled through the ground, sending everyone sprawling as the altar pulsated with energy. Dust cascaded from the ceiling, the shadows flaring up before retreating into the crevices of the rocks. Look! A boy shouted, pointing toward the swirling inscription. Words began to materialize under the glow, glowing with an eerie light, the truth is a path obscured. He stepped forward, eyes wide, trying to decipher the script that twisted and turned like a serpent. The girl inched closer, the key trembling in her grip. What does it mean? She asked, breathless. Her voice barely rose above the whispers that filled the chamber, which seemed to mock her plea. Maybe it's a riddle, or a warning, a girl stammered, glancing nervously at the walls as they felt almost alive, pressing in closer. What truth could it possibly be? The air shifted. A voice like thunder rumbled from the core of the altar, shaking the very ground beneath them. Unlock me, it beckoned. Face what lies within. Let us just get out of here. One of the guys protested, stepping back, fear written clear across his face. But the girl felt her hand pulse around the key. It was no longer just an object, but an integral part of understanding this chaos. Then let us unlock it, she declared, a wild glint in her eye. Together. She turned towards the altar, moving through the trepidation pulsing in her veins. Each step felt laden with gravity. The golden key, brilliant against the dark stone, began to vibrate, almost singing as she drew nearer. The inscription glimmered, revealing more. To set the truth free, one must first embrace the dark. The words echoed ominously, wrapping around them like a noose. What darkness are we talking about? Someone murmured, biting their lip as they shifted in place. I don't know, she whispered, torn between fear and indignation. But locked inside this place are answers we need. Clenching her jaw, she brought the key closer to the altar's surface. We have to commit, she said firmly. Meet the darkness head-on and uncover the truth. We've seen it tonight, there's too much at stake. With that, she plunged the key into the altar's heart, the chill of uncertainty wrapping around her like a wave. Suddenly, the chamber erupted into chaos. Lights flickered violently, illuminating the walls as if unveiling long-buried secrets. The very essence of the place seemed to wriggle, uncertain, responsive to their presence. Get back! One of the guys shouted, but it was too late. The altar screamed with a cacophony of voices, both horrified and ecstatic, colliding violently like thunder around them. As shadows expanded and closed in, the girl felt the key jerk in her hand, battling against her grip. What have we done? Someone cried, but she stood unwavering. We're finding out what we're meant to uncover, she declared, mouth dry. The altar trembled, an eruption of light blasting upward, scattering their shadows, forcing them to shield their eyes. In that stark brilliance, an image formed, faces from the past, those lost to time, gazing back at them. Who are they? A girl gasped, terror mingling with awe. Why are they trapped? She wondered, horror creeping back over her thoughts. Are they warning us? Another murmured, stepping closer, unwilling to pull away. As the light surged, the girl realized that the whispers were not all dreadful. Flickers of hope jolted through her, mixing unsettlingly with imminent dread, and then the voices unified, crescendoing into a chorus of desperate cries. The choice is yours. What choice? Would they really unlock the truth of those lost? Or would chaos reign? As the ground trembled again, her world hung on a fragile precipice, a single heartbeat daring her to decide. The moment stretched, and she knew they would have to confront the past. But what horrors would they unleash by doing so? Fearful, breathless, they awaited their fate, eternity echoing in their memories. The choice loomed large once more, treacherous and heavy. Would they commit to the darkness, or turn their backs on the secrets of the altar? The walls shook violently, and the howls of the trapped souls echoed in the cavern, reverberating like a chorus of dark fate. The girl stood frozen, the key still clasped tightly in her hand. She felt the very air around her shift, pushing against her, pressing in from all sides. Was this the darkness they had to embrace? The energy radiating from the altar pulsed hotter, a fiery heartbeat that resonated through their bones. Shadows clawed at their feet, hungry and alive, twisting into grotesque figures that seemed to beckon them deeper into the abyss. The pupils of her friends dilated, panic seeping into their expressions, creating a vivid tableau of fear. Please, let us leave. One of the boys shouted, eyes wide as he stumbled backward, almost tripping over the jagged stones. But the girl's resolve only solidified. She felt a deep connection to the altar, a pull that transcended her fear. No. We can't run. Not after coming this far. Her words came out stronger than she felt, but there was no turning back. Suddenly, the light from the altar intensified, bathing them in a surreal glow that made the shadows retreat momentarily. The faces trapped within the light twisted as if desperate to share their stories, their mouths opening in silent screams. Each face was a reflection of a life that had sought truth but found only oppression and despair. What do we have to do? She shouted over the din, her heart drumming furiously. What choice do we need to make? At her feet, the inscription glowed brighter, pulsating in rhythm with the altar's heartbeat. Unravel the bond, it echoed, the words flame-like, flickering in and out of focus. The shadows twisted again, shifting into veils that seemed to whisper secrets. We have to break whatever binds them here. She gasped, understanding beginning to dawn. It wasn't just about unlocking a door, it was about releasing souls that had been trapped by their own fears. That's the truth we seek. A breath caught in her throat as she glanced at her friends, their faces caught between disbelief and determination. Are you with me? She asked, feeling time stretch in a grip of inevitability. One by one, they nodded, a flicker of unyielding courage igniting between them. Together, they took a collective step forward, forming a circle around the altar. The key still pulsed in her hand, thrumming against her palm with an energy that felt like pure purpose. On three the girl began, taking a deep breath. 1, 2 with every beat of her heart, she increased her grip on the key, feeling the energy swirl like a tempest in her veins. 3. As they shouted the final number, she thrust the key into the altar with all her might. A blinding surge of light erupted into the cavern, engulfing them completely. The faces distorted as the cries crescendoed, merging into a hurricane of sound. Every shadow flickered violently against the vibrant light, twisting in agonizing contortion. The ground shook as though the earth itself was breaking free from shackles, the force of it nearly knocking them down. Suddenly, the light fractured, sending beams cascading into the cavern, illuminating every corner where darkness had once ruled. And then, amid this chaos, she felt it an almost palpable release, an exhalation of trapped souls emerging in a rush of bittersweet relief that washed over her like a wave. But just as quickly, it became clear that this was only the beginning. The shadows roared back, more recklessly now, swirling with confusion and fury as the light fought to hold them at bay. "Fetch the truth!" The thunderous voice commanded again, resonating deep within her chest. "Keep it steady!" she cried, fear igniting in her veins as she struggled against the overwhelming force. She couldn't see clearly, her vision blurred by the fury of the light and dark tangling together, but she sensed a path emerging. Faces flickered at the periphery of her sight, half hidden, half formed as they beckoned insistently. Then, the light flashed brighter than the sun, blinding her completely. For a brief moment, she felt weightless, suspended between two worlds, a trembling bridge between the past and whatever waited beyond. What awaited them on the other side? Would they finally unlock the truth, or would it engulf them in darkness they couldn't escape? The cacophony crescendoed, crashing like waves against cliffs, shattering the very essence of everything they understood. She tightened her grip on the key, bracing for what was about to unfold. And then it stopped. Silence. Heart pounding, she took a deep breath, the pulse of dread wrapping around her heart like a vice. What the hell had just happened? Would they face the truth, or had they drawn out something they couldn't contain? Just as the silence threatened to bear down on them completely, echoes of distant cries rang once more, eerily calm in this newfound quiet. The choice is only just beginning. What did that mean? Would they remain trapped in this waking nightmare, or would they seize control of their fate? The future hung in precarious equilibrium, and she realized they'd have to dive deeper than they ever imagined. Uncertainty loomed ahead, razor-sharp, and their journey was far from over. The girl blinked, trying to adjust to the suffocating stillness. Her heart thundered as the echoes of the cries lingered in the air like a whisper of doom. What choice? What truth? She looked around at her friends, each face lit a ghostly pale. The weight of the moment settled on them, thick as the shadows still swirling at their feet. "Are you all right?" she whispered, concern sharpening her voice. One of the boys, Ethan, shook his head, unable to understand what had just happened. "No, we just pulled them out, didn't we? How can it be quiet? They should be free." His voice trembled, tipping between anger and confusion, like a wave ready to crash. The energy from the altar flickered, pulses dying down to faint glimmers. "We released them," she insisted, though doubt crept into her heart. "You saw it? What if we didn't just set them free?" Mia asked, her voice small. Her eyes darted around, searching for any sign of movement in the dark recesses of the cavern. What if we released something worse? It hung in the air, that cruel possibility. The shadows that had retreated seemed to gather again, jolting forward like predators after a feast. The cracks and creaks of stone echoed ominously around them, but it was a new sound that broke through a low, chilling laugh. It surrounded them, billowing through the caverns like smoke, snaking around their hearts. The girl's breath quickened as she spun around, scanning the darkness. "Who's there?" she called, her voice shaky. Suddenly, the wall behind them rippled, like liquid silver, warping and twisting until it revealed a figure. It emerged slowly, stepping into the light with an almost elegance. "Congratulations," it said, its voice silky smooth, laced with mockery. "You've unlocked the truth, but the truth can be a cage of its own." The figure was cloaked in shadow, features obscured but unmistakably human. A flicker of recognition ignited within her. You're one of them," she half shouted, stepping forward instinctively. "What do you want?" "Want? The figure echoed, amusement glinting in its eyes. I didn't want anything. But you, sweet girl, you wanted the light of truth, didn't you? And now you're bound to it. The shadows began to swirl more fiercely, burrowing into the girl's chest like 1,000 whispers. Fear snaked back into her heart, real and cold. She gritted her teeth, fighting against it. What do you mean? We can't be bound by the truth. We can't you? The figure's voice dropped to a whisper, intimate and haunting. You see, the truth doesn't just reveal, it ensnares. Now, the souls you released, they may not be as forgiving as you hoped. Her breath caught, a lump forming in her throat. Had they truly freed those souls or unleashed something far worse? The figure stepped back, melding into the shadows as if it belonged there, cloaked in darkness. You'll have to confront the ones you've set free. And I suggest you do so quickly before they find you. The shadows surged forward all at once, howling with rage as if awakened. She stumbled back, gripping the key tightly. What do we do? She yelled, her heartbeat echoing in her ears. Embrace the truth. Or let it consume you. The figure's voice taunted from the dark, fading into a fit of laughter that echoed endlessly. The cavern quaked again, but this time with furious intent, the ground splitting open as twisted faces emerged from the chaos, eyes blazing with fury. They were enraged, lost, and hungry for retribution. The girl felt the air thicken, a bitter taste of fear and regret swirling around her. Had they made a grave mistake? She glanced at her friends, whose expressions mirrored her dread. Was there still a chance to reclaim what they had unleashed, or had the darkness found its way back to claim them for good? A choice lay ahead: face the turmoil of the released souls or find a way to escape before it was too late. In that moment, an inkling of resolve grew. Together, she whispered, her voice steadier now. We'll face it together. Would that be enough to counter the storm they had stirred? Or had they crossed a line from which there was no return? As the howls crescendoed once more, darker than before, she knew the battle had just begun. The echoes roared like a tempest as the faces from the darkness moved closer, twisted with fury and despair. Their gazes burned into the explorers, a haunting reflection of the choices they had made. The girl tightened her grip on the golden key, feeling its warmth pulse against her palm, reminding her that they had to confront what lay ahead. Stand together. She shouted across the cacophony, feeling her voice fight through the rising tide of regrettable consequences. The others grouped close around her, forming a united front in the face of impending chaos. What do they want? Ethan gasped, his eyes darting wildly. The shadows flared, and whispers surged through the cavern, swelling into an orchestra of sorrow that demanded answers. They want recognition, they crave release, she said, piecing it together. Their desperation mirrored her own. She realized then, with a sudden clarity, that it wasn't her to decide their fate. We need to appease them. They never had closure. As the faces morphed into gaping mouths, some screaming, others moaning, she took a deep breath. We have to acknowledge their pain, express sorrow for the past. We released them and now we owe them respect. Respect? Mia shouted incredulously. They're furious. How are we going to calm them down? By listening. The girl could feel the energy shifting, a tempest caught on a thread. If we can express our understanding, maybe they'll guide us to the truth we sought. Maybe then they won't see us as intruders. With every pulse of rage in the cavern, the shadows seemed to retreat and swirl, as if contemplating her words. The girls stepped forward, breaking the barrier of fear wrapping around them. We're sorry. We were curious, but we never meant to disturb your rest. We wanted to find the truth. Please, show us how to make this right. A wave of chatter erupted from the wraith-like figures, their voices like a haunting symphony of agony. The girl's heart thundered as she looked around. Could they understand? Would they accept this offering of goodwill? The shadows pulsed, a turbulent river of energy flowing through the chamber. A figure stepped into the flickering light, its features sharp against a backdrop of swirling darkness. It was one of the trapped souls, rage twisted into something more profound. "Truth," it exclaimed, voice echoing as if torn between rage and gratitude. "We've all waited too long to be seen. But will you feel what we felt? Show us." The girl took a step back, her eyes wide, heart racing with the weight of their task. Silence hung thickly, crackling with tension. Moments ticked by like echoes of forgotten time. Then, one by one, the tortured souls began wailing, their screams an unbearable reminder of their suffering. The girl's chest tightened, her breath catching. "Feel their sorrow," she cried out. "Connect with their pain, and show them they are not forgotten." The others closed their eyes, taking deep shaky breaths, attempting to channel collective grief and compassion. It felt heavy. It felt raw. Each explorer took a piece of the anguish, reliving the anguish that had bound these souls to the terrible past. Slowly, the shadows began to shift, transforming into something less threatening. The wails quieted, turning into whispers of understanding and acknowledgement. Then a voice rose above it all, a resonating deep tone, filled with sorrow, yet tinged with relief. "To understand is to set free. Accept our truth and walk with us in love, not out of fear." The girl pulled in air, closing her eyes, focusing on the connection. "What must we do?" she whispered desperately. "How can we truly set you free? Release your judgment." The words rolled over her like a wave. "In the face of anguish, share your truth." She could feel the shadows intertwine, forming a tapestry of tortured lives leading to a radiant light, a life before the chaos. "Your connection to us is a mirror reflecting back the pain of the world. We trusted each other once. If you stand firm, the truth will bind us, but strength lies in vulnerability." As the word settled, she felt a pull from the golden key, writhing like a flame, urging her. "It's time," she gasped, a sense of unity rippling through her, binding them all together. "On three, we tell our truth of what we've learned tonight." They nodded, hearts sinking to the collective beating of their shared resolve. 1, 2, the crackling energy surged through them, gathering momentum as they linked hands. 3. In unison, they stood tall, exclaiming the truths they had discovered of love lost, the darkness of human desire, and the essential need for connection. The air vibrated with their sincerity, traveling like tendrils through the shadows, wrapping around the dark figures. Light erupted, engulfing the cavern as penetrating warmth surged through the explorers' veins. They shut their eyes against the brilliance, feeling the heaviness lift, and in that moment, the shadows began their slow retreat, fading into the light. One final, mournful sound echoed, then silence. The cavern shifted as the shadows dissipated, leaving behind an air of calm heaviness of lives unshackled at last. "We did it," Ethan whispered, blinking back tears as the warm light enveloped them. The girl turned to face her friends, breathless and overwhelmed. "We faced the darkness together, and it changed everything." As they stepped back into the light, "The shadows of history may remain," whispered on the gentle winds of Pompeii. But they had unlocked not just a truth, but unexplored connections between the past and their present, showing that amidst the darkness, light could always rise. A bittersweet farewell hung in the air, recognizing the souls they had freed, her heart swelling with a strange mixture of loss and relief. "Together, as always," she whispered, as they stepped away from the shadows, leaving the brothel behind to reclaim its stories, a sacred, ancient truth born anew. Now, dear viewers, this is the moment you need to subscribe immediately to our channel. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure you're part of every thrilling tale we uncover next. Flood the comments with your reactions and theories about this unexpected ending. Share your thoughts, because you matter. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this astonishing conclusion. Stand with us as we dive even deeper into these stories together.